Hello and welcome to part 12 of Signs of Soul Connections in Astrology. Today we're going to talk about Chiron in Twin Flame and Divine Counterpart connections. The table of content for this video is healing in Divine Counterpart connections. Then we're going to talk about Chiron in signs and houses. And then Chiron in Divine Counterpart Synastry, and last but not least, Chiron aspects to personal planets in Synastry. Healing in Divine Counterpart connections. The asteroid, or the now minor planet Chiron, is also known as the wounded healer in astrology. First of all, I would like to give you some more information about Chiron. You see, it is out of Britannica.com. And so let's talk about Chiron for a moment. Who is Chiron? Chiron in Greek mythology is one of the centaurs and is the son of the Titan Cronus and Philyra, an Oceanid, I don't know how to pronounce it, sea nymph. Chiron lived at the foot of the Mount Pelion in Tennessee. Unlike other centaurs who were violent and savage, he was famous for his wisdom and knowledge of medicine. Many Greek heroes, including Heracles, Achilles, Jason, and Asclepius, were instructed by him. Accidentally pierced by a poisoned arrow shot by Heracles, he renounced his immortality in favor of Prometheus and was placed among the stars as the constellation Centaurus. When Chiron, and now we're talking about the asteroid or minor planet, was first discovered in 1977, it was classified as an asteroid. Now it is considered a minor planet and part of Centaur, a class of celestial bodies orbiting between the asteroid belt and the Kuiper belts. Chiron orbits between Saturn and Uranus. Both are very different planets, still they belong together. Why? Because Aquarius is ruled by Saturn and Uranus, so they have completely different energy, but still you can find both of them. You could say like alchemizing in Aquarius energy. Aquarius is inhabiting both of them. So anyway, Chiron orbits between Saturn and Uranus and serves as a metaphysical mediator between those energies because they are actually quite different. Saturn is more tradition and Uranus is change, and Aquarius is in between. I actually just recently recorded a video that I will publish, I think, in 2 weeks about the age of Aquarius, so you can look forward to that. Make sure you have subscribed. But it asks questions like, where do we hold ourselves back? Saturn. Saturn is a karmic planet, you could say. And where can we be destructively rebellious? That's Uranus. It's the Aquarian energy. And we must understand both extremes in order to find the middle ground. And the middle ground is Chiron in this case. Some astrologers believe that Chiron rules Virgo, which is traditionally ruled by Mercury. So Chiron actually has nothing to do with Aquarius or Capricorn, which is ruled by Saturn. Aquarius is ruled by Saturn and Uranus. Capricorn is simply ruled by Saturn. Nevertheless, some people think that Chiron is connected to Virgo energy. Why? Because Virgo is the helper. Virgo always wants to help. At the same time, we just learned earlier that Chiron, he was an alchemist, he was a spiritual teacher, and Virgo is connected to the mind. It is connected to Mercury, as I just said, and Mercury is thinking, it is intelligence, and also in Tauro, Virgo energy is connected to Hermit, the Hermit is connected to spiritual awakening and ascension. And you could say the Hermit, since it is awakened, is also considered to be a spiritual teacher. And Virgo inhabits all of these traits, the helping, the healing. The 6th house in astrology is connected to Virgo, and that is the house of health and healing. So it would make sense to connect Chiron with Virgo, so that Virgo is still ruled by Mercury but co-ruled by Chiron. Just like Pluto, for example, is co-ruling Scorpio. Scorpio is traditionally ruled by Mars, co-ruled by Pluto, and we were talking about Aquarius. Aquarius is traditionally ruled by Saturn, co-ruled by Uranus, and then we have Pisces. Of course, Pisces is traditionally ruled by Jupiter and co-ruled by Neptune, and that would make Virgo as another entity that is ruled by 2 different energies, Mercury and Chiron. In modern astrology, Chiron represents our core wounds and how we can overcome them. So very much Virgo energy indeed, when Virgo is the healer. Scorpio is the sign of healing, and Virgo is the energy of the healer. Chiron is named after a Greek healer, we already established that, a philosopher and teacher, Virgo energy, who ironically could not heal himself. Chiron is symbolized by a key, demonstrating the importance of unlocking this minor planet's major lessons. And here you do see the symbol of Chiron. Let's talk about Chiron in signs and houses. And I did actually use this information that I found on mindbodygreen.com. And copy that I did change some things when I didn't agree with them 100%, but I want to tell you, when I created this presentation, I made it a little bit easier for myself to actually use this information. So Chiron in Aries or the first house. I also want to know that Chiron stays in one sign for 8 years. Why? Because it's far away from us. It is between Saturn and Uranus, so at a far distance, which means Chiron is moving very slowly and stays in one sign for 8 years. That is why we have to look at the house as well, and then we have to combine it. For example, my Chiron is in Taurus, but in the 12th house. So you would look at both of these aspects and then combine them. If you don't have your person's exact time of birth, then you won't know your person's house placements. However, you will still know your person's sign, because again, if you know the year, then or roughly a year, then you most likely would know the current sign, since it stays 8 years in one sign. But let's talk about Chiron in Aries or the first house, because the first house is connected to Aries energy. So the wounds we may have is anger management. Yeah, unhealed Aries has a temper. It's aggressive. It's a lack of self-worth. Why lack of self-worth? Because it is connected to the first house, and the first house is very much connected to our self-worth, but more when it comes to our physical body, whereas the second house, the Taurus house, it has more to do with our inner self-love and self-esteem, whereas the first house is more how do we appear, our physical appearance. It can be very competitive. It can have the need to be number one or refusing to participate. It can be comparing and despairing. But if it is healed, then it can be empowering people to embrace their individuality, channeling anger into creative expression, fearless individuality, and it can be independent. So we do have the unawakened version of somebody younger maybe who has Chiron and Aries, and then once they have changed during the course of their life, of course, if they have done some shadow work, they can turn from this into this. Healing gifts means they have the ability to go there. It's up to each person individually. Do I actually get the work to go from my core wound to the healed version of myself? Second, of course, Chiron in Taurus or the second house. I already said I do have Chiron in Taurus. So the wound is stubborn, resistance to change. I can be stubborn. I don't have a big resistance to change because I have strong Aquarius energy. It's following others instead of forming your own values and beliefs. I don't have that core wound because I have strong Aquarius energy, and Aquarius energy just refuses to follow others. It can be addiction to comforts like eating and drinking. Yeah, I mean, my weight is coming from somewhere, right? And materialism and money struggles. I'm not very materialistic, but throughout my life at phases I had money struggles. Yes. Ironically, and now this is a little discourse, but I want to tell you more about astrology. The moon nodes also show about our karma and dharma, and so I do have a core wound when it comes to money. And it is interesting, I already told you, Chiron for me is in the second house, in Taurus, but in the 12th house, the Pisces house, the spiritual house, which creates spiritual teachers, and here I am. And it is also reflected in my nodes, because my south node is in the 8th house in Capricorn. And the 8th house can talk about being born with spiritual knowledge. You know, it's the house that is talking about the occult and also spiritual knowledge is connected to Scorpio energy. And people with the south node in the 8th house, they are born with or can be born with this. I mean, there's other meanings to the 8th house, for example, being good with other people's money, makes amazing bankers, for example, or people who teach about finance and all of that. For me, it's more about the spiritual teachings that I brought into this life. It's karma, it's where we come from. And then my north node is going into the 2nd house, which is the Taurus house. Again, we have Taurus energy. It's making money. So for me, it is about being a spiritual teacher, which we also have when Chiron is in my 12th house, and it is healed, the healed version. And we take the occult knowledge and then we learn to make money from it. That is something that is my fate, you could say, because we have my north node in the 2nd house and Chiron in Taurus. So my inner wound that needs to be healed is connected to the material realm, but using my spiritual side to do so. The healing gift of Taurus is creating a serene environment, thorough financial planning, staying calm during turbulent times, calm in the storm. It is teaching and modeling traditional wisdom. The 3rd house, or the Gemini house, Chiron in Gemini 3rd house, the wound is fear of being alone. I mean, Gemini, it's the twins, it's being connected to someone. It's approval seeking, nervous chatter or addiction to gossip. It's a hard time to finish what you start. It can be anxiety about being judged, and sibling rivalry. Why sibling rivalry? Because the 3rd house is the house of siblings. And also, it's the twins. Gemini is the twins. And of course, because of that, can talk about siblings as well. The healing gifts is play-based learning, communication arts. Gemini is ruled by Mercury, like Virgo, and Mercury is the planet of communication and thinking. Cooperation and mediation, using wit and humor as a tool for connection, and putting people at ease, and inclusivity, because Gemini is a very inclusive sign, very open-minded to others. It's very easygoing, very easy to be approached, very approachable, I wanted to say, because it is already a double sign. It's Gemini, so it is, the twins, it is connected to other people in some way. Very similar, but then different, you could say, than Aquarius energy. Whereas Gemini is more inclusive, Aquarius energy is talking about networking, but still being the outsider at the same time. I'm part of the group, but I'm still on the edge of the group. I'm leading the group somehow in a very friendship way, not because I want to be a boss. I'm the same, but yet different. That's more Aquarius. Gemini is more inclusive, because twins, they're the same. I'm looking for sameness rather than what separates me or what makes me be different, which is a very Aquarian trait. Chiron in Cancer, or the 4th house, the wounds is the trouble feeling at home or safe, both in your body and in the world, because the 4th house can be connected to our early childhood. It is emotional eating as well, because it is ruled by the moon. The moon is, getting bigger and smaller. It's waxing and waning, I think you say. It's scared of strangers, because the 4th house is about familiarity, family dysfunction, and possible with the mother, because the mother can be the moon in astrology, especially when we're young. And men, when they're older, the moon can represent the wife, but also mother, of course. The healing gifts is creating a safe haven for community, empowering women. The moon is very much feminine energy, nutritional wisdom, and nourishing with food. Chiron in Leo, the 5th house, the wound is the needful validation. Of course, Leo's the king, right? We want to be seen with Leo. It is presenting a false front. I don't want to show you who I really am. The saying, not all that glitters is gold, but Leo is sometimes maybe trying to portray that. It can be the addiction to trauma and intensity. The addiction to drama and intensity, and a romance and love addiction. The healing gift is empowering others through authentic self-expression, playfulness, healthy hedonism, using the arts to uplift and spread a positive message. Leo, when healed, is a very generous sign, and of course they want to be seen as generous. Leo often is generous because it gives positive feedback, because they want to be seen in the best light. But still, it is a sign, I want to be number one, but I still want to take care of number 2 and 3 and 4, and I want to be your king, and I want to be a good king if it's healed. The Chiron in Virgo at the 6th house, the wound is debilitating perfectionism, people-pleasing, distorted self-image, a body image, anxiety about people's judgment, very, very much Virgo energy, being excessively critical of others and themselves, even far more than themselves, very self-critical but also critical about others. Hypochondria, as I said, the 6th house of Virgo is connected to healing and health. The healing gifts is creating structures to help people improve their lives, from home organization to wellness, all of that. The daily routine is very much connected to Virgo energy, our daily task and course, being a storehouse of practical wisdom, creating empowering media. Chiron in Libra, the 7th house, inability to commit to relationships. Yeah, Libra is ruling the 7th house, which is the house of relationship. And if there is a wound, then we're not really open to connect to others. It is paralyzing indecision. Yeah, Libra, it's, the balance. It needs to be balanced, and sometimes we have problems finding the balance because we're too much on one or the other side, and we have problems deciding. Romanticizing, yeah, it's the house of romance. Trying to force peace at any price. Trouble ending relationships. Libra is very much connected to other people, because imagine like a scale, we need somebody else to balance us out. The healing gifts can be fostering peaceful communication and harmonious compromises, diplomacy, creating beauty and heart-opening experiences, and being a messenger for Cupid. So helping others in romance and relationship. Chiron in Scorpio, or the 8th house. Nihilism, power struggles, jealousy and obsession, trouble leaving bad relationships. So, the 8th house can be a bit of the drama house. It's the shadow, can be aggressive if not healed. It's a very tumultuous house. It's our darkest house. It's our shadows. It's where our trauma is stored, you could say. But the healing gift of Chiron and Scorpio is soul deep sexual healing. Not just sexual healing, any kind of healing, because Scorpio can be connected to Phoenix energy. It is the healing. It is alchemy, turning trash into treasure, helping people through extreme life passages such as birth, death, and other transitions. Yeah, it's connected to Pluto, the 8th house in Scorpio. Pluto is life and death. It's being reborn. It's different and important cycles in our life, like having a child. I mean, it's not just the beginning of one person's life, it is also the beginning of parents' life. All of a sudden they're parents, and that is a big major life circle. So that is very much connected to the 8th house. Also any kind of shadow healing, transforming sexuality, all of that is connected to that. Chiron in Sagittarius, it's fanatical or zealous beliefs, disruptive nomadic tendencies. Yeah, it's connected to traveling, especially like long-term traveling and not having a home. By not having a home, of course, I don't mean being homeless. I mean traveling. Aggressive tactless communication style, chasing the high of the next big thing. It's connected to Jupiter. Jupiter is very much to I want to feel good, I want to feel happy, and I'm looking for everything that is making me happy, and I'm trying not to see what is not making me happy, and I'm defending my happiness. And if you're not making me happy, I can be, but aggressive, because I want to be happy. But the healing gift is revealing higher trust with compassion. Also, the 9th house of Sagittarius is connected to higher learning. It's the philosophers. It is religion very much as well. Not so much spirituality. It is more religion than spirituality. It is fostering diversity and inclusivity. Yes, because they are connected. It's, as I said, the sign of traveling and other cultures and other countries. So very open, very welcoming to all kind of people. We don't have racists in here so much when there's a lot of Jupiter or Sagittarius energy, because they're very, very, very open-minded to everyone. So we do have fostering diversity and inclusivity, creating conscious media, laughter as medicine. When Chiron is in Capricorn at the 10th house, the wound is obsessive ambition, using career as an escape, fixation on gaining status and approval, family dysfunction, possibly showing up as daddy issues. Yeah, we already were talking about the moon or Cancer energy as the mother. Here we do have the daddy issues. Ironically, Capricorn is a feminine sign. It is ruling the yin, the feminine side of Saturn, whereas Aquarius is the masculine side of Saturn. But Capricorn is the overachieving placement, and it can be overachieving in a ruthless way. But when it's healed, then we do have level-headed leadership. Capricorn is connected to old traditions. That is why we do have the family dysfunction here. If something negative is here, and family is where we get our traditions from, where we learn, where we come from in this life. So we do have level-headed leadership, environmental consciousness, utilizing resources to provide for everyone. So if Capricorn, it is also connected very much to leading energy. It's like king energy. It's different than Leo. Leo wants to be the king to get the admiration. No judging, because you don't know where that is coming from. You know, that may be a soul that didn't get that in a past life and wants to experience it in this life. There's nothing wrong with that, especially not if it's healed Leo energy. I mean, look, if we wouldn't have Leo energy, then we wouldn't have any entertainers out there that would bring us so much joy and fun because they're creating amazing art, right? And if they want to be admired for that, well, there's people who love to admire other people, so everything is legit. You know, we're not being judgmental. But yeah, Capricorn is very much connected to, you could say, royalty. If you have strong Capricorn, like if you have like South Node in Capricorn, could be that you were some kind of king. Doesn't have to be like a king, but some kind of a leader in a past life. Aquarius, the wound is destructive rebellion, scientific detachment from emotions, trying to fit in. Yeah, it is a very non-emotional. I don't want to say I have strong Aquarius, so it's actually BS when they say Aquarius is not emotional. We are very emotional. That is why we are the humanitarians out there. But it is not coming from an overly emotional side. It's more like I see that there's something wrong and I want to fix it. However, if there is a wound, then it can be, yes, I'm trying to detach because I'm scared of emotions, because I'm scared of what it does to me. The healing gifts are social justice and activism, fostering utopian communities and a sharing economy both online and in real life, and uplifting idealism. Yeah, healed Aquarius wants to help everyone. Chiron in Pisces, or the 12th house. Yes, I do have it in the 12th house. The wound is the fear of asserting boundaries, of course, because it is connected to Neptune. Neptune is a gas planet, so it has no strict boundaries, and Pisces energies has trouble with creating boundaries because they're like a sponge and they're feeling everyone's energy. It can be escapism, always have done that. I was a daydreamer all of my life. Denial, not living in reality. But when it's healed, it is helping people to let go of limiting beliefs. What do? I am a coach, that's my job. Spiritual and esoteric leadership, that's what I'm doing. Psychic powers, yeah, duh, I'm a psychic medium. Helping people live out their fantasies. You know, it's basically, you could say this is a nice way to describe manifesting, right? What is a fantasy? It's something in your head, and manifesting is taking something in your head and making it physical. So yeah, Chiron in the 12th house makes absolute sense for me, and since it is connected, it's in Taurus, it is also making money with it, because Taurus is the energy of money. So your Chiron placement is one of the indicators, along with the moon nodes, Pluto and Saturn, what needs healing in your life. It shows what kind of karma you have. So we have obviously different indicators of karma. The South Node can highlight karma. Pluto, what needs transforming, and Saturn, where do I need to grow in order to overcome obstacles. So when you want to see what kind of karma do I have, or what is my soul mission, then you can look at those placements because they show you what your soul mission is. You came down here to grow on these different aspects. If you already get some value out of this content, please help me by liking, sharing, subscribing. If you want your own analysis, don't hesitate to contact me. My contact information is below, and you can book your own personal reading. Please make sure, since this is a series, it's part 12 of a series, you watch the other videos as well if you want to learn more about Divine Counterpart and Twin Flame Astrology. So now let's talk about Chiron in Divine Counterparts Synastry. So since Chiron is known as the wounded healer, it shows where two people meet in order to help each other, which can occur with triggering, and to heal the oppressed trauma and wounds. When I say where two people meet, we were already talking about the houses and signs. Okay, so that is something that is important. What is my issues? And we already saw earlier where your specific Chiron is, what house, what sign, shows you something about yourself. And now we bring another person's Chiron to the table as well. And we see, okay, your Chiron is falling into that house and sign of mine, and mine Chiron is falling into your specific house and sign. And that, of course, can trigger something as well. So divine counterpart connections, and especially twin flame connections, will have Chiron aspects in astrology. Why? Because the twin flame journey is all about healing, awakening, and transforming into one's best version of themselves. I want to say something about this. So we already learned, or I told you, that my personal Chiron is in Taurus, in my 12th house. And it is forming a tight conjunction, and we're talking about that, to my twin flames Mercury and also Venus. One is like 1 degree apart from my Chiron, the other 2 degrees apart, and that is falling into his 10th house, which means that I may be healing something that has to do with his career, because it's the 10th house, the achieving, but also maybe about his reputation, how the way he looks in the public. My Chiron, and we're going to talk later about what does it mean that my Chiron is connected to his Mercury and Venus, but also it is connected to his Taurus. Taurus can be creative energy, for example. Artists will have Taurus in the 12th house, midheaven, Taurus midheaven. It can be connected to his work as an artist in this case. Or Taurus can be also working with money, because Taurus is ruling money. If you would have a job connected to finances, then, and it's not working too well, for example, then I could help him heal that, or do something that would put him become more self-confident when it comes to his job. So you see that my Chiron placement affects him in his Taurus, because if my Chiron is in my Taurus, then it is also, of course, falling into his Taurus energy, but in his 12th house. So, okay, so we do have the awakening and transforming into one's best version of themselves. That is connected to that specific house where one's Chiron is falling in. Since twin flames trigger this healing and awakening journey when meeting, and we always attract a divine counterpart that mirrors our own unhealed things, it is logical that Chiron is involved in these connections. By that I mean, when Chiron is a wounded healer, and I have some problems, for example, connected to money, then it might be that my twin flame may have a similar aspect. It doesn't have to be money, but something that is connected to, in this case, Taurus energy. So it's not a coincidence that he would attract me, even though for him it's not so much, or for us it's not so much his Taurus energy, it is more his planets that are connected with. But again, we always attract mirrors, so there is no coincidence when you attract someone. Both have wounds when it comes to a specific topic. In this case, it would be like Taurus topics. And twin flames often share similar core wounds and have been through similar life experiences. With Chiron, we share a wound and still heal each other. So let's say, for example, Chiron would be connected to somebody's like moon, or in somebody's 4th house or Cancer house, which could be mother issues. Then that could mean that the other person may not have Chiron as well in there. Maybe they have Pluto, or they have some other aspect that shows, okay, I do have mother issues. And then let's say my Chiron would be in, let's say it would be in Cancer. So I have mother issues. And then we meet, and he has mother issues as well. Again, maybe because of the South Node there, or he has Pluto there, or something that would indicate mother issues. And then we both meet, and we share this core wound. And then maybe by talking, or also by triggering. Triggering, remember, in twin flames we do have often a separation that is so important. So triggering or healing does not always occur because we to talk about the problems, which could be one way to deal with them and heal and getting new information. But it could also be because of the separation, and I realized, oh my God, the person I love is not available. Yeah, my mom has never been available for me as well, so I need to heal this wound. So both will share the same wound, and then they meet, and then a journey starts. In Synastry, be mindful in which signs and houses each other's Chiron falls. It shows what aspect of one's life is highlighted and triggered when one's Chiron falls into the specific sign and house. So let's say even though he has, take the same example, he has Pluto or Saturn. Saturn can be a harsh aspect in Cancer, but he has never dealt with it. And then he meets me. And then my Chiron, which is the asteroid or minor planet of feeling, falls into his mother issues. Then all of a sudden, the healing journey begins. Even though he may have had his issues with his mother issues for many years or decades of his life, in that moment, my Chiron falls into his mother issue problems. It starts to heal. Another thing is, of course, let's say, just an example, I was using the 10th house earlier with reputation. It doesn't mean that this person always had a bad reputation, but maybe something in their life happened and their reputation for some reason was damaged. Maybe, or it's connected to the 10th house, they lost their job. And it had been good for a while, but then you would attract that person in a moment where you are in this predicament, where you have this problem that you may not have had throughout your entire life, but in this specific phase. And then the person, my Chiron in somebody's 10th house, would impact that person's reputation, that if, for example, it had been destroyed, can now be healed and built up. So mother issues is, of course, a problem that we usually deal with the rest of our life. But let's say the 5th house. 5th house is fun and playing, and a person has been a very playful energy, but then something happened, and they became depressed because some circumstance in their life happened. Maybe they had lost a spouse and are now a widow or widower. And I'm just making up things, right? Just to explain. And due to that traumatic, or maybe some kind of illness, some kind of trauma occurred. And then they lost that sense of life, or that life energy, that joy. And then if I had Chiron, let's say, doesn't matter where, but my Chiron would fall into that person's 5th house, then they would heal that wound. That maybe it was not a childhood wound, but it was something that was triggered through some kind of trauma in that moment. And then it is no coincidence that we met in that moment after that person had that wound and lost their joy, that the person with the Chiron would help heal that to bring that back. So it can be an issue that the person had since their early childhood, which it's connected to the moon or 4th house or Cancer or Capricorn, family tradition. It could be a childhood wound, but not in every house. It does have to be something that we carry from childhood. It could be, life happened. It could have been something in the soul contract. Something happens to me, I was always a happy person, then I lose that happiness, and then I meet somebody who brings that happiness back to me. That was not expressed good, because nobody can bring happiness back to you, but another person can trigger something inside of you that you heal, and you find your own inner happiness, or you get that back, but nobody can bring anything to you. It's always an internal thing that can be triggered by another person. So yeah, it is important to see where Chiron falls in, and of course the same as the opposite. Make sure you watch where your person's Chiron, in what house or sign of yours it falls. It would tell you something about your own journey. And we had it up here, watch this again, and then you see what is going to get triggered into healing. But in twin flame connections, we don't simply look at the house and the signs. We also look at aspects that one person's Chiron is forming to another person's personal planets. And that is very important when we do have these aspects, because that shows you even more, and we would have that in twin flames. So however, with Chiron we need a tight orb, which means that in the aspect, which could be in conjunction, opposition, square, trine, sextile, quincunx, and so on, that two planets formed should not be further than 3 degrees apart from each other. Why? Because Chiron is not a very big planet, or used to be an asteroid, so potato but it's far away from us, and it's not a big major influence, so it needs to be a tight orb to really have an impact. Harsh aspects like oppositions and squares hint at karmic connections. Positive aspects like conjunctions and trines imply that healing is possible, and probably more than just possible. If you stay in this connection, then it most likely will happen. In an opposition, the trigger topic will always play a role, and it would be hard to learn to live with a situation that will never stop triggering you. Yeah, imagine you have mother issues or daddy issues, and that person throughout the rest of your life will always trigger that. Because in opposition, you can't get rid of an opposition. That will always play some kind of role. And I often say oppositions are not that bad because you can learn to balance it. But it's hard when your core wound is getting mirrored. How do you balance that? Living with your core wound when you keep on getting confronted with that. In a square between Chiron and one's personal planet, healing is blocked entirely because a square is karmic, a square is karma, a square is a blockage. So that is something I would not like to see, a square between Chiron and the other person's personal planets. But let's talk about Chiron's aspects to personal planets. Yeah, when Chiron forms an aspect to a personal planet, I already said it's maximum 3-degree orb. It shows more about what exactly is healed and transformed in this connection, and if the aspect is positive or what is blocked. So if Chiron is connected to the sun in a positive aspect, the sun is connected to our self-worth, the way we express ourselves. A positive Chiron connection can help a lot when it comes to be playful, have fun, enjoy life, and grow self-esteem and self-love. Because it is, the Leo energy, the here I am energy, look at me energy, being proud of who you are. If you have a negative connection, this is completely blocked. The enjoying life is blocked. The growing self-esteem is blocked. It would be more like tearing the other person down or not being able to grow when it comes to this. Chiron and the moon, even worse. Here, deep-rooted childhood trauma, possibly connected to the mother, may heal if it's a positive connection. The moon is our most valuable self. It is what has been hidden. This aspect can address core wounds when it comes to one's emotion. And I wrote depression because the moon is connected to our emotions, so it's waxing, waning. It can highlight depression if it's not healed. So when we have Chiron meeting another person's moon, it's the core wounds. It's the biggest aspect of ourselves that can get healed. It can be early childhood stuff, but if it's a negative connection, like a square in opposition, that is blocked, completely blocked. So this is not something we want to see. And this is not something we will see in a twin flame connection. So Chiron and Mercury, once we are thinking, Mercury is thinking, and it can be negative thinking, radical thinking, or also kind of like depression. Here we do have depression when it comes very much to emotion. Here it could be like I constantly think negative and I tear myself down. In psychology, we talk about endogen, or in German endogen or exogen depression. Endogen is more when it has to do with your hormones, the moon, and exogen more means like you have some kind of outside influence that is causing a depression, and that is because more connected to Mercury. When you think negative, when you give something a negative assumption or a negative meaning, then it could be more like the depression when it comes through some outside influence that makes you think negative, whereas the moon, it's more like an hormonal imbalance. So once we are thinking or communicating is getting healed. Mercury is thinking and communicating. All thought patterns and limiting beliefs are addressed and challenged, so it can bring peace of mind. However, in a negative connection, then you remember Chiron is the wounded healer, so both have a similar wound, and they both have very negative thinking, and there is a square, then they would just enhance that negative thinking by, you're right, this world sucks. Yeah, it really does suck, and this is bad, and that is bad. Yeah, you're right. And they would just pull each other down, and there's no healing happening here. Whereas in a positive connection, in a flow, then they will trigger some kind of change when it comes to their thoughts and old patterns. Chiron and Venus, the way we love and wounds from prior relationships is highlighted. we get to heal from old wounds regarding love, attraction. By attraction, I mean how attractive do I feel, and the way we show love and we are able to receive love. Some people are not able to show love, to express love, and other people, they are not able to accept it. And what comes to mind, of course, is the anxious or avoidant attachment styles. So if we have had anything of that, and then one person's Chiron is meeting the other person's Venus, that is something that can get healed. And my twin flame and I, for example, I already said it, my Chiron is conjuncting his Mercury and his Venus. One is 1 degree orb, the other one is 2 degree orb. And what is a twin flame connection? You change your old patterns when it comes to love. You learn to open up. You learn to heal those wounds connected to love and giving and receiving love. Not holding on too much. If you have the anxious attachment style, then you need to learn to let go. And letting go does not mean forgetting. It means giving up control. It means stop chasing. And if you have the avoidant attachment style, it means learning to open up to receive love, to learn that emotions or love is not a danger, because those people in the past, they have associated somehow through some kind of trauma that emotion is dangerous, because those people I love, they try to manipulate me or to overpower me, and they have experienced that being close to someone, well, it resulted in some kind of abuse, and then they have to protect themselves. It's the distorted masculine energy, whereas the distorted feminine energy is like, oh my God, I need to hold on to that love, and then they may be love bombing or trying to overburden the other person. And in twin flame connection, we have to learn to overcome these things. So it absolutely makes sense in a twin flame connection to have a Chiron Venus or Chiron Moon contact, but also Mercury. Why Mercury? It's the way we think. If you've been pessimistic thinking, and remember, we always attract where our thoughts flow. It's the law of assumption. So if we are thinking negative, like, oh, I'm alone, my person is absent, maybe I'm not good enough, this way of thinking, of course, would result in the other person mirroring that back to us. So we have to learn. Self-love can be connected to Venus, of course, as well. It's love. It's also about how we love ourselves, because Venus is connected to Taurus. We were talking about Taurus being connected to self-love, but also, and the Libra side is how much do I love others, So Venus, self-love is Taurus, love from others would be Libra side of Venus. It makes sense because Taurus is the feminine aspect, and it's very much feminine energy is very much self-reflecting, and masculine energy is the outside, what impulses come from the outside. So Libra is the masculine aspect of Venus. But also Mercury is the way we think, we communicate, and negative thinking cannot result in a happy ending. So on a twin flame journey, you definitely have to observe the way you think, and you have to change all thought patterns. So it makes absolutely sense to have Mercury connections in a twin flame or divine counterpart relationship, because they come to teach you a new way of thinking, and Venus a new way of feeling. Then what is when we have Chiron and Mars connections? As I said earlier, if you have negative connections, then this is blocked. So in Chiron Mars connections, there can be sexual trauma if that has occurred, or inner aggression may be healed in this connection. So if you have dealt with that, if you have received aggression, or you have been aggressive, because what is aggression? Aggression means I'm not balanced because I feel helpless. Something is happening to me and I cannot control it, and I'm scared of not having control because maybe I was controlled in my childhood. Maybe I felt like a victim in my childhood. So I don't retreat. I tried to address this core wound by being the perpetrator first. And that can be aggression. So aggression, they are usually not evil people. They are unhealed people. They are traumatized people. And that learns to overcome this fear by being the first one to attack, you could say. So if we have Chiron Mars connection, that is something that can be healed. But also Mars is our drive. It's sexuality. If there's a wound that can be healed, it is aggression, but also the complete opposite. Like, I cannot be assertive. I don't have any drive. I am too passive. And this is the other aspect that of course can be healed as well. Remember, Mars is also has a masculine side, which is Aries, that can be aggressive when not healed. And Scorpio, the feminine aspect, is more like I shut down, I can be vindictive, I can have negative emotions. And a typical thing, some Scorpios, they want to take revenge, yes. Other Scorpios or Scorpio energy, they would more be like, I completely withdraw, I completely cut somebody out of my life, or I'm not very active, because what happens is my emotional side, Aries is fire energy, it's fire, I step into the anger, whereas it's explosive, whereas Scorpio energy would be more like implosive, because it's the feminine aspect. So both of that could be the core wound that is getting triggered when we do have Chiron and Mars connection. So a lack of energy or drive to accomplish goals or to stand up for oneself, that could be healed. So for some, this connection may be calming them, and for others, it may give them more energy, more drive. Chiron and the rising sign. Yeah, this can heal self-love when it comes to one's physical body. Taurus is more my emotional side, is Venus, the way we love ourselves. And this is more the rising sign. How do I look? How do I present myself to other people? So this can heal self-love when it comes to one's physical body, feeling beautiful or attractive. And one has the possibility to learn how to portray themselves in a way they are comfortable with and change people's first impression. Some people, they are really shy, or they don't dare to open up, and they are overseen and they don't want to be seen. Others may be quite the opposite. They may be too much out there because they need attention, because they only feel valuable when they get attention, because they don't feel valuable from within themselves, so they're seeking for the outside confirmation. So both of that can be healed when we have Chiron meeting the rising sign. Then if we have squares or oppositions, of course this could be blocked, and then that person will always have struggle with, how do I portray myself, or how am I perceived by other people. They could always feel like people perceive me wrong and nobody can see who I really am. But usually both divine counterparts are people. I wrote people because in Synastry, of course, when you check your Synastry chart between you and your best friend or your sibling or your mom, you have Chiron can have Chiron connections, or you definitely will have somebody's Chiron falling in the other person's house and sign. That is a must. So I wrote divine counterpart, yes, because that is what this playlist is about, but any person you check your Synastry with. But we attract people who have a similar wound, and we get to heal this wound together. Of course, if you don't have any planetary aspect, if it's just the house or the sign, then Chiron may not be very important, because you may not have a big issue when it comes to that. But when it does meet another personal planet, then that definitely shows you that there's something that needs to be healing way, way, way more than just one person's Chiron falling into the other person's sign and house and vice versa. And then I wrote, here we get to heal this wound, which can also happen in separation if the other person was a trigger. I said it earlier, if I have fear of abandonment, then it does not get healed by the other person being there. It will get healed by the other person leaving to show us, triggering us this fear of abandonment so that we can address it. So healing does not have to be in communication, in doing it together, but in separation. But still, since you're connected, both are doing the same work, and then when that work is done, then their path will meet again. That can happen. So it gives you the ability to grow. So Chiron is important in divine counterpart connection. And again, in twin flame connections, you will have positive connections between one person's Chiron and the other person's personal planets, or planets maybe in plural. Positive aspects show the possibility to do so, to heal, and hard aspects will lead to triggering but not overcoming this issue. So we do have karmic cycles that go on and on and on and on. And if you don't heal that, then you will most likely attract the next person with the same issue until you actually do the work. Last but not least, it would also be important to check the composite chart. You know, the composite is basically the birth chart of your relationship. It's the midpoint chart. I do have a video on that if you want to know more about what is a composite chart. Check out my playlist. But it would also be important to check the composite chart to see in what sign and house Chiron falls there, to give more insight about the relationship. What aspect is not healed in both individuals but in the relationship as well. So yeah, I hope you liked it, and subscribe for more information on the subject. There will be more videos like this. I believe I do have a list. Next week, I believe we're going to talk about Saturn, then we're going to talk about Pluto, then the nodes. And I still have way more stuff to cover. We are going to talk in the future about Juno, you know, some very important asteroids. So we are not done yet. Make sure you subscribe so you won't miss out. If you want your own personal analysis, you can contact me. Let me know what you're interested in. My contact information is below. Check out the other content. I'll see you in another video or in personal coaching. And till then, I wish you all the best now. Bye-bye.